Right now, we've got a ton of games to get to when it comes to the NBA. We've got Craig Trapp and Tony T both joining us to talk a little NBA second half. Let's start with the Pacers and the Knicks. The Knicks are not a team that, I mean, they're not tanking, but they're not doing I don't think they're doing it on purpose. They're 17-38 on the year. Pacers are -6 in this one. Total is 211.5. The Pacers are 32-23. Number 3 in the NBA in field goal percentage, a good shooting team. Let's start with Craig. Who do you like in Pacers Knicks? What is your side?
Well, yeah, like you said, it looks like the Knicks are tanking, but they're really trying. 8-19 at home. I mean, the Mecca is not the Mecca as it used to be, in New York. But the Indiana team hasn't quite been the same. I thought when they got Oladipo back, this team was going to make a push and be top 3 or 4 team in the East. Hasn't quite happened. But I'm going to be back on them here tonight. I'm going to give them another chance here. Indiana Pacers, I see it at 5.5 or 6 either way. I just think this Knicks team just continues to find ways to lose and lose ugly sometimes. So let's take the Indiana Pacers rested after the All-Star break here.
Yeah, and I'm going to look at a total here, and of course, with Oladipo back and some rest here, I'm going to look at it for an over here, over 211.5. You got to be very careful with totals coming in after the All-Star breaks. When you look at the lines, a little bit more shaded to the under than over in a lot of the games that you see lined here coming back from the All-Star break. But I think it's a low total. I'm going to go over 211.5. One thing to note here, the Pacers have played over in 8 of their past 10. As they hit the break, they are shooting the ball a little better on the road here at 48%, 39% from 3. Of course, Oladipo back, a little bit of time to get chemistry back with his players. But one thing we've seen with New York has been improvement on the offensive side of the court since the coaching change. They hit the break, shooting the ball well. But one thing to note here with the Knicks, they do not play defense very well. Of course, they're looking for a little bit more offense in New York, and they're suffering on the defensive end. For that reason, I'm going over 211.5.
All right, next up, we've got the Nuggets. We've got the Thunder, and the Thunder are actually one of the better teams against the spread in the NBA this season. 36-19 against the spread, 33-22 overall. The Nuggets are 38-17, 27-25-3 against the number. The Thunder are favored -1 at home in this one. Total sits at 215. Craig, who do you like?
Yeah, this Denver team, they have all the talent in the world. I really think they are the team that both the Lakers and the Clippers worry about in the West. I guess maybe the Jazz as well. But I think Denver, last year they had the record, but they didn't have the experience. Now they have that experience. They're getting healthier. I like Denver, a rested Denver team, to beat a hot Oklahoma City team that coming into the year, if you just told me they were 11 games over 500 at the break, I'd have been like, no way, no, not. I wouldn't even think they've been 500. So to me, they've had a great season. But I think Denver, a rested Denver team, goes in and gets a win. 1 point underdog here will take the Denver Nuggets.
All right, Tony, who do you like?
Yeah, I'm on that ship too with Craig. As a matter of fact, Alex Smart on the podcast was strong too on Denver. I like Denver here plus the point here. They've won 4 straight against the Thunder. They're a good road team, winning 17 of 27. They shot the ball well there. But one thing to note with the Thunder, I prefer them as a road underdog. At home, they've had struggles in their step-up games at home with straight-up losses to the Spurs, Celtics, Mavericks, Heat, and Raptors over their past 5 weeks. So for that reason, I'm going to take Denver plus the 1.
And right now, 20% off. Use promo code XFL.
Next up, we've got the Celtics visiting the Timberwolves. Celtics are -6.5 in this one. Total is 229. Celtics 38-16 on the year, 15-10-1 against the spread away. Timberwolves are just 6-20-1 against the number at home. Craig, who are you leaning towards? Or what are you leaning towards?
Yeah, you did say that right, too. Let's just say that again, 6-20-1 against the spread at home. I mean, it's pitiful. Even bad teams usually are about 500 against the spread at home. But it's almost too easy here, so that's why I'm going with the total here. I do think the Celtics win and win easy, but I just think maybe Russell finally, had some time to practice with Minnesota. I think he might make a difference here. I think the better play is the over 229. This Boston team with Tatum, Brown, and Walker, when those three are playing, they can really light it up. And Minnesota's terrible on defense. Russell's definitely not going to help them on defense. We know how bad he is on defense. So let's take the over 229 as Minnesota gives up another 130 spot in this one as my prediction.
Right, Jason Tatum's having an incredible season. He's been one of those stories up there. Really fun to watch as well. I know in one of those games he had an incredible dunk and then followed it up by a long three. So he's fun to watch. Just to add to that, Tony T, you like the Celtics? You like the Timberwolves, or do you like the total?
Yeah, I like to go with the Celtics. Whenever they face bad defensive teams, I like to take the Celtics and lay the points here. And I'm going to do that here with Boston. Big hole in the middle for Minnesota. Looks like Karl Anthony Towns is dealing with a wrist injury. So that's a big loss there for Minnesota defensively. They're a bad defense. They're going to be even worse here in this spot. And you mentioned a really bad run by Minnesota. But look at their current run. They've lost 14 of their past 15, fell into cover 13 of those games, and defensively just been terrible. Looking at their past 5 games in the break, allowing 51% shooting, 44% from 3. Celtics have covered 4 straight against the Timberwolves. No surprise, Minnesota has been a bad defensive team for the past several years, and the Celtics have been able to cover numbers against them. Go ahead and lay the points with Boston.
Next up on the card, we've got the New Orleans Pelicans at the Trailblazers. The Pelicans are -4 in this one on the road. Total sits at 235.5. Zion Williamson is back and in full fashion. He is averaging 28 points a game despite only playing 28 minutes a game. So he's not challenging Ja Morant for the Rookie of the Year just because he's been hurt so much, but he's really fun to watch and he's scoring a lot of points. Meanwhile, the Trailblazers will be without Damian Lillard. He's out with a groin injury, probably why the number is in favor of the Pelicans on this one. Craig, who do you like?
Well, you got to be careful with coming off the break because, of course, you get teams like Portland that, yes, they're like a mash unit. I mean, they're missing seems like everybody, but they have one guy, and that's C.J. McCollum. Guy doesn't get to shoot it nearly as much because Damian Lillard's the top 3-point guard in the league, but when he's played without Lillard in the past, he's had some really big games against a New Orleans team that doesn't play a whole lot of defense. That's just not their calling card. They love to score a lot of points. I think getting 4 points at home is just too much. I think this is going to be a shootout. I also like the over in this one. Let's take Portland plus the 4, sprinkle a little of the over as well, as this one's a really fun game to watch, I think.
All right, Tony, what's your play?
Yeah, I'm going to kind of butt heads here with Craig, although I would rather lay the Pelicans in this spot only because they're a fast team, a fast-paced, high-scoring team, and I think that will get to Portland trying to keep up with the scoring of this Pelicans team. McCollum can go for 50, but when you're putting up 130 points, I don't know if that 50 is going to have much impact at the end of the game here. Of course, we've talked about here with Lillard out until March, and that's 4 impact players here for Portland out. And don't forget, these teams just met, and the Pelicans crushed the Trailblazers at home by 21 points. They shot 53%, pulled down 10 more rebounds, and I just see this game. I just see the Pelicans are continuing to dominate this Trailblazers team. I'll go ahead and lay the points with New Orleans.
And finally, we've got the Lakers and the Grizzlies. The Lakers are the home team in this one. They're favored by 11. Total is 232.5. Craig, you're on. Who do you like?
The big question here is, of course, the Grizzlies playing back-to-back nights to open up the season, but or the second half after the All-Star break here, I just think young teams, that doesn't bother them a whole lot. And you're getting up for LeBron, Anthony Davis, and playing, home of course, everybody seems like favorite player right for this generation of these guys is Kobe Bryant. I think Morant and company will come and play big tonight. I think you take the 11 here in what will be an exciting game. And this Grizzlies team, if you haven't watched them, this will be a fun time to do so because they will get up and down and make an aging Lakers team, I think, really sweat to just win.
All right, Tony, who do you like?
Yeah, I'm with Craig here. I like the Grizzlies plus the points. Of course, I think the back-to-back helps Memphis because they get at least a game under the belt here where the Lakers 8 days off. That's a lot of time off. And when you look at the Memphis Grizzlies in back-to-backs, they've covered 5 of 7. They've averaged 120 points a game. And, of course, the Lakers return the court here. But they're going to face a fast-tempo Memphis team with a game under their belt. There could be some rest. But, one thing I note here, Chelsea, I might like the first half better here. I see the first half line with Memphis plus 6.5. I would like that better than taking the 11 overall, but I like Memphis here. And if you can get down on a first half side, I'll take Memphis plus 6.5 because they will be the team that has a game under their belt.
All right, good stuff from both of you guys. That's our NBA Rapid Fire segment.